what takes place there. First of all, gas is supplied from the East Coast, and it's supplied 100% by BP. It is sent to the LNG plant, where it is fractionated using the Phillips cascade. It is cooled, first of all, liquefied using the Phillips cascade process, and the LNG is sent to Spain and the USA. I'll get back to this in a while. The liquids that are produced as a byproduct are sent to a gas processing facility, Phoenix Park gas processors, where it is fractionated into propane, butane, pentanes, and natural gasolines. Now, the markets are United States of America, the North, Boston really. 60% of the input goes, and to the Spanish market, 40% goes. Originally, the intention was to send all the LNG to USA, but Enagas has been sending LNG to its markets to a market in Puerto Rico. What is interesting about the geography, remember I mentioned the geography here, is that it takes about 11 days from Trinidad to the Spanish markets, and about 5 to the Northeast USA. So the location is quite ideal for markets not only in the United States and the Spanish market, but as you can see, we're right off the coast of South America. The project highlights, and there were quite a few. First of all, it was the plant is considered the world's fastest LNG project, taken 6.5 years from conception to completion, including 34 months from construction to delivery. Now, the plant also set a benchmark for capital costs, in that initially it was forecasted that it would cost about $1 billion. It turned out it has completed for $965 million, including remediation of the site and the construction of docking facilities and all that. The plant is now it's been looked at for debottlenecking. They'd like to enhance the production by about 10%, and that study is taking place. One of the important things that really helped this project to succeed was the way it was constituted, and I will make mention of that a little later. Now, some of the operational highlights are that the plant successfully completed all performance tests. It has been producing above nameplate capacity. In fact, 5 extra cargoes have been delivered since it was completed. 124 shipments. All its commitments to market have been met. It has raised the investment profile of Trinidad and Tobago, and it is expected to contribute about $6 billion to the economy of Trinidad and Tobago in the next 20 years. Now, immediately after the first train was completed, there were plans on board for expanding the project by constructing 2 additional trains. Now, these additional trains would, of course, require additional storage and power generation. The capital cost would be about $1.1 billion. The technology used is the same as that of the first plant, the Phillips cascade process. And the contractor Bechtel International, they also built the first plant, and the nameplate capacity of 6.6 million metric tons. This plant train 2 should be completed by the end of 2002, and train 3 about 7 months thereafter, July 2003. Conceptually, the expansions are very similar to the first train, except that now that the gas supply will come from both the East Coast and the North Coast, with BP, TT supplying 75% of the gas overall, and BG and its production sharing contract partners providing 25%. The market is also different. In the first train, 60% of the output went to the United States. In this case, 62% will be going to Spain, and the rest, 38%, to the United States of America. The marketing shows that in the United States, one additional receiving station is being prepared, Elba Island in Georgia. Some of the gas will be diverted there. What I'd now like to speak about briefly, the market opportunities and the potential for LNG expansion. Where do we go from there? From an economic perspective, of course, the two major determinants for future expansion will be the demand and what I call reserves availability. Now, regarding reserves availability, this depends on a large extent to what the government plans to do with its gas. If they get into additional petrochemical plants or gas to liquids, reduction of metals, there will of course be less gas available, and there would be a restriction on gas reserves. On the market demand side, however, it's interesting that we already see in the Caribbean development of a market. Puerto Rico, as I said before, is getting LNG supplies from Trinidad and Tobago. The Dominican Republic is constructing a LNG regasification facility and a 300 megawatt plant. And BP will be supplying LNG to the new facility beginning in 2003 from the expansion plane. Other LNG projects under consideration are in Honduras, Panama, Costa Rica. And other potential markets may be Cuba, Jamaica, and other West Indian islands. OLADE, the Latin American Energy Organization, carried out last September, did a survey of possible LNG demand in the Caribbean area. And what they have come up with is the following. They see, for example, that by the year 2005, there could be an demand for LNG in Cuba amounting to 2.8 million metric tons per year. In the Dominican Republic, was 0.9 million metric tons per year. In Jamaica, 0.6. Honduras, 0.5. Nicaragua, El Salvador, 0.8. Nicaragua, 0.3. And Costa Rica, 0.3 also. Panama is also on the list of countries that may be, or that are potential LNG users. And that is the picture. The total demand in 2005 would be amount of about 6.8 million metric tons per year, which is equivalent to about two LNG trains. Now, what are the requirements for growth in the Caribbean or elsewhere? First of all, like any country that would be looking at using LNG would have to come up with would have to have a critical mass, a critical volume, which would justify the investment in LNG import facilities. They'd also have to have gas distribution infrastructure, and of course, competitive pricing relative to competing fuels. It is expected that the benefits regarding the environment that may be gained from using clean burning natural gas would contribute to an increase in demand. So what I'd like to do now first is just to briefly review what I consider to be the critical contributors to the success of the development of the LNG industry in Trinidad and Tobago. First of all, location. As I indicated before, the country is ideally located just off the coast of South America and has ample, easy reach to, or very practical traveling times to the regional markets. There are also ample reserves or resources. The success of the first plant and second plants predicated on guaranteed markets that were sourced before the plants were put in place. And last but not least is the novel structure of the project. The project team, or the equity investors, comprise producers, plant owners, buyers, and even the government of Trinidad and Tobago in the form of its national gas company. The project continued throughout some changes that could be considered radical, and I think this shows that the need for a stable environment is important. While the plant, when the investment decision was made and before construction began, the government changed and the location of the plant also changed. But neither of these changes affected the completion date of the project. So it is my view, that all of these factors have combined to promote the successful establishment of LNG in Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you.
No, excepto a Eduardo, ¿que alguien quiere hacer alguna pregunta? En segundo lugar te dejamos preguntar, Eduardo.
¿Las hago en castellano?
Como vos quieras. Mejor si las puedes hacer.
Brumelius, there is any idea where the 4 plants will be located? You mentioned 4 plants in 10 years. Whereabouts?
As you can imagine, in Shell, we are looking at all kinds of opportunities around the world. We've announced, I think it's 4 by now, potential prospects in Iran, Indonesia, Egypt, Trinidad, if I'm not mistaken. But of course, as you can understand, with the need or the willingness to have 4 projects kicked off around the world within a 10-year time frame, we're continuously looking at other opportunities and possibilities. Now, I've tried to sketch some of the not only advantages, but also some of the local needs for such a project. And wherever you have plentiful reserves and some of the other factors, there's a possibility. So we keep on looking around.
Otra pregunta, ¿quieres?
Well, the first question is for Marco. You showed a slide there, over there, with the prices of petroleum at which it would be convenient to obtain fuels from this project. But you didn't mention the price of gas. That is for what price of gas in dollars per million BTU as a raw charge?
No, I didn't mention the price of gas, that's correct. I mean, the only thing I want to say in this instance is it's of course all about the differentials. I mean, you've seen the CAPEX we're thinking of, really, and then what you're looking at is the difference between what you think you can get for your projects, which is very much defined by, well, where you want to ship it to, things like that, and the gas price. Now, the only thing I think I can say about gas price, it should be attractively priced, whatever that means. It's certainly less than for LNG development. Where the cutoff lies depends on the local circumstances, yeah, but it's lower.
The second question is, why don't you mention the internet address in order to know the data about the quality of the fuels, because it's very interesting.
If you could help me there, I would be obliged.
I have more questions, and now it's for Rupert. The 2 trains you are developing must compete with the Algerian gas and with the Russian gas, with an actual price of, suppose, about $2.8 per million BTU in Europe. You can compete with those prices because the original train was for $3, more than $3, $3.30, $3.50. With the new trains, with a lower capex, you can compete with 2.8 per million BTU in Spain, especially?
Yes, the prices are in fact considered competitive in the development. First of all, let me explain how the prices are arrived at. In the Trinidad LNG project, you have what you call netback pricing, in that the prices at the market are netted back. You're subtracting transportation costs, operations costs, factor for capital investment, and then you get the wellhead prices. Certainly within recent time, the first train has been very successful, and that prices have been a lot higher than they were planned for. But as I said, the markets have been pre-arranged, they're pre-existing markets, so we are really not competing with any other gas, in that you have fixed markets.
Though it was never mentioned, la última, though it was never mentioned, in Bariloche in 1997, we can gather what was the price of the gas to the plant. It was never mentioned because it was secret. But we can gather that the price was about 80 cents per million BTU, between 80 and 85 cents per million BTU. The price for the new 2 trains is the same?
Okay, just as the price for the first gas wasn't mentioned, neither is the price for the second and third gas.
¿Alguna otra pregunta? Any other question?
Distillate production, GTLs. I'm wondering, what are the restrictions in obtaining natural gasoline? Referring to Shell's SMDS project, in which you produce middle distillates, I'm asking, what are the restrictions in producing natural gasoline?
Okay. I mean, actually, I would like to turn it around. If you look at the product slate, which we just saw, I indicated a bit on where we thought these products would go. Yeah? Kerosene, naphtha. You could see it in the picture on the catalyst. But it is actually a process which can be fine-tuned. So if you look at the naphtha, the kerosene, and the gas oil, the diesel, if you will, you can fine-tune between those 3 quite easily. Now, where do you see it going? There are big markets, well, and even in South America, yeah, right in front of the doorstep, especially for these markets. But it's quite flexible, as I tried to indicate as well, on where you see you want to send it to, dependent on various factors. Does that answer your question?
¿Alguna otra pregunta? Si no, le damos el micrófono a Eduardo otra vez. Decidan ustedes. We have decided.
There's a data which is not in the internet pages related with the gasoline. The gasoline has no aromatics. So it's difficult to obtain research octane number and also motor octane number. And I don't know which is the motor octane number of the gasoline you are obtaining in Bintulu, Sarawak. Do you have the data?
Sorry, I have to pass there. No, don't know.
And the cetane index is about 80?
Yeah, roughly speaking, I mean, the normal numbers, if you think about 50, 40-ish, etc., which is in various countries, this product would have cetane indexes of around 75 to 80. Yeah.
¿Alguna otra pregunta? No. ¿Alguna otra pregunta para los panelistas? Bueno, la última, Eduardo.
The best change between your process and the traditional South African process is the catalyst, and the catalyst of all the processes. But how do you manage to obtain products with very low oxygenate content? Only by hydrogenation, or you can reduce the quantity of aldehydes and ketones and acids and so on in the Fischer-Tropsch catalyst.
Actually, it's a very clean process all the way through, is what I want to say on that, yeah.
Bueno, les agradecemos a los panelistas por las presentaciones que nos hicieron en nombre de la SPE y le agradecemos a ustedes por estar acá. Gracias.
Bueno, vamos a dar comienzo a esta sesión a la que hemos llamado sesión de conferencias técnicas del upstream, y en la cual tenemos 4 temas realmente muy interesantes. El primero de ellos está relacionado con el tema de petróleos pesados, petróleo viscoso, para lo cual, como es lógico, hemos invitado a un representante de PDVSA, ya que tenemos la suerte de tener en la región un país y una empresa con alta experiencia en el tema de producción, procesamiento y comercialización de petróleo pesado. El segundo tema está relacionado con operaciones en mares profundos, operaciones costa afuera, para lo cual también, como es lógico, tenemos un representante de Petrobras, una de las empresas con mayor avanzada en el tema offshore en aguas profundas. Tenemos luego las últimas 2 presentaciones relacionadas con temas más vinculados a la parte económica. La primera charla, una charla muy interesante sobre el tema de precios futuros de crudo. Y terminamos con una exposición sobre eficiencia en la recuperación de recursos de petróleo y gas. Como los temas en realidad no son tan interrelacionados, no vamos a hacer esto un panel para una discusión final, sino que vamos a ir invitando a los conferencistas a subir al estrado de a uno y vamos a hacer la sesión de preguntas a continuación de cada exposición. Así que invitamos a subir al estrado al primer expositor, al señor Ignacio Lairize, de PDVSA.
Bueno, Ignacio Lairice ingresó en PDVSA hace 23 años en la subsidiaria de Investigación y Tecnología, INTEVEP. Allí ocupó posiciones técnicas y gerenciales. Durante ese tiempo trabajó también en operaciones de producción y planeamiento corporativo. Estuvo involucrado en el desarrollo del nuevo combustible Oremulsión. En los últimos 3 años ha estado en PDVSA Faja, una unidad de negocios a cargo del desarrollo de la faja de Orinoco, responsable de los proyectos de Cerro Negro y Hamaca. Posee un título en Química de la Universidad Simón Bolívar de Caracas y un máster de la Sloan School del MIT. Ha publicado más de 70 trabajos técnicos en revistas y congresos de la especialidad y posee más de 100 patentes de 20 inventos. Ignacio ha sido profesor de la Universidad Central de Venezuela en los posgrados de Economía Internacional y de Hidrocarburos por más de 10 años. Muy bien, Ignacio.
Gracias. Bueno, muy buenas tardes. Primero que todo quiero darles las gracias a los organizadores por esta gentil invitación para compartir con ustedes un poco qué es lo que está sucediendo en los crudos pesados. Antes que todo, vamos a ver cuáles son las perspectivas de crudos pesados. Como ustedes pueden apreciar en esta gráfica, que la tomé de una presentación de un compañero de Canadá, en los que trabajamos en crudos pesados ya tenemos tiempo esperando que los crudos livianos se agoten o empiecen por lo menos a declinar. Y aquella amenaza de los principios de los 80 como que por fin va a suceder. Hay gente que está prediciendo que ya para el 2006 o 2008 y ciertamente durante esta década ya vamos a ver la declinación de los yacimientos de crudos livianos y aparentemente como que la mejor opción puede ser la de crudos pesados. Esto es importante porque definitivamente hay reservas importantes de crudos pesados. Llamo yo pesados menores de 20 grados API para no entrar en controversia. Y esperamos entonces que a raíz de esta demanda de 1.5% por año que se mantenga, entonces vamos a ver realmente un volumen importante de crudo pesado en el mercado. Desde el punto de vista de reservas, básicamente Venezuela y Canadá, y estos números siempre se prestan a controversia, poseen prácticamente el 70-80% de los crudos pesados en el mundo. Y sin mayores lucubraciones, prácticamente es posible que recuperemos por lo menos 20% de ese petróleo que está en sitio. Y muy probablemente 50%, dependiendo obviamente de las tecnologías que se desarrollen y se hayan desarrollado y se desarrollen para ese momento. Específicamente el caso de Venezuela, y voy a entrar ahora en Venezuela, de cómo estamos manejando el crudo pesado. Hoy por hoy, el crudo pesado representa el 70% de las reservas de Venezuela. A pesar de que en nuestros 3 millones de barriles de petróleo que producimos diariamente, más de 2 millones son de crudo liviano y mediano, y apenas 1 millón o algo por el estilo es de crudo pesado. Esto está cambiando. Si tomamos en cuenta las reservas de la faja, las reservas probadas de la faja, esto representa prácticamente casi el 50% de lo que tenemos en Venezuela. Sin embargo, cuando vemos los recursos que están en la faja, podemos estar hablando de ese 1.4 trillones de barriles de petróleo en sitio, que si le aplicamos ese factor de recobro de 20%, que sabemos que es muy probable, estamos hablando de casi 272 mil millones de barriles de petróleo, que es casi equivalente a lo que tiene Arabia Saudita. Ahora, ¿qué representa eso realmente en términos de producción? Si a los 270 billones de barriles, 270 mil millones de barriles, le restamos lo que ya tenemos comprometido en los proyectos actuales, las 4 asociaciones que vamos a ver a continuación, más la producción propia de PDVSA, más lo que está produciendo Vitor en forma de Oremulsión, esto nos da que todavía nos quedan 262 mil millones, es decir, están comprometidos un poquito menos del 4% de los recursos de la faja en estos proyectos, o sea que todavía tenemos mucho que por hacer aquí. Si aplicamos esa tecnología, lo que representan estas reservas de la faja básicamente es la capacidad de producir entre 5 y 10 millones de barriles por los próximos 50 a 100 años, es decir, la capacidad de producción de Arabia Saudita en los actuales momentos. Ahora, estas son las buenas noticias. La mala noticia es que este petróleo, como ustedes pueden apreciar aquí, no se puede utilizar en refinerías convencionales. Aquí hay una comparación con el WTI, 40 grados versus 9 grados, 0.3% de azufre versus casi 4%, 8 ppm de metales versus 620 ppm, y por supuesto, prácticamente casi todo el crudo extrapesado de la faja es residuo. Es decir, no lo podemos utilizar en la refinería. Y esto prácticamente es lo que está evitando el desarrollo de los crudos pesados, no solo